Dr. Elias Ward sat alone in the cockpit of his small salvage ship, the Orion's Reach, drifting through the dark void of space. The ship creaked faintly under the strain of cosmic radiation and micrometeoroid impacts. Outside, distant stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across black velvet, indifferent to the struggles of a single human. Elias had been alone for weeks, ever since a violent debris storm had shredded his crew's shuttle beyond repair. He now relied entirely on his own skill, his own courage, and a stubborn streak of curiosity that had both saved and nearly killed him more than once. Elias's scanners beeped faintly, their monotonous tone blending with the hum of the ship's engines. Normally, he would have ignored the readings. Space was full of anomalies, strange pulses, and dead signals. But something about this one was different. It pulsed steadily, almost rhythmically like a heartbeat, and then, faintly, in a pattern too deliberate to be random, it repeated. He leaned closer to the console, adjusting the scanner's frequency. The signal was broadcasting in no known language. It was too structured to be natural interference, too complex to be a simple glitch. It wasn't human, and it wasn't from any civilization he knew. Elias's curiosity overcame caution. "Whatever you are," he murmured, "I'm coming." The signal led him further into uncharted space, past asteroid belts that twisted around dead planets and through clouds of frozen gas that glowed faintly in his scanners. Hours passed, and the Orion's Reach crept forward like a cautious animal, every movement precise and careful. Then finally he saw it. A colossal structure loomed ahead, suspended silently against the backdrop of a dying star. It was a ship, but unlike any ship humanity had ever imagined. Its surface gleamed with strange metallic reflections, smooth yet impossibly intricate, as if the material itself were alive. Its hull was cracked in several places, and enormous chunks of debris floated loosely around it, yet the structure remained eerily intact. Elias's jaw went slack. He slowed his ship to a crawl and activated the docking protocols. The ship was massive, far larger than a city, with corridors and chambers that surely held secrets beyond comprehension. As he approached, he noticed faint movements inside the structure. Or perhaps it was the flicker of light along the walls. Something, or someone, was alive inside. The docking clamps latched onto the hull with a hiss. Elias activated the airlock, feeling a shiver of anticipation and fear. His heart raced as he stepped into a small shuttle bay, the doors of which slowly creaked open. The air inside was stale but breathable, tinged with the faint smell of ozone and metal. He moved carefully, his boots echoing against the metallic floor. Every corridor he passed seemed to pulse with life, the walls subtly shifting as if breathing. The ship was enormous, but he did not feel insignificant. Instead, he felt a strange sense of familiarity, as though the vessel somehow knew he belonged there. Finally, he reached the central chamber, and it was there that he understood what the signal had truly been. Before him was a massive console, not of buttons and switches, but of living material that shimmered faintly, responding to his presence. The hum in the room grew louder, forming words that spoke directly into his mind. "You are human. Will you repair me?" Elias froze. His rational mind screamed that he was hallucinating, that this was some sort of advanced alien AI playing tricks on him. But the voice was real, a presence that existed beyond sound and vibration, speaking directly to him. Who are you?" he asked cautiously. "I am Eternus," the voice replied, calm and ancient. "I am a warship built by beings you cannot imagine. My systems are failing. Will you help me?" Elias' mind raced. A warship? Ancient technology? The thought of touching such a vessel was exhilarating but terrifying. Humanity had discovered many relics in space, but none like this. He had always believed that the galaxy held secrets, but here was one that was alive, sentient, and calling out to him. "Why me?" he asked, unable to hide the tremor in his voice. "You have the mind to understand. You have the will to act. Others before you failed or were unworthy. You are human." Elias took a deep breath. Every instinct screamed danger. The ship had power far beyond anything humans had ever known, and yet it pleaded for his help. Could he trust it? Or would helping it doom him? Curiosity, that eternal human spark, won over fear. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help you, but I need to know, what exactly am I repairing?" "I am more than a ship," Eternus replied. "I am a weapon once wielded by celestial beings who ruled the stars. I was used to destroy, to conquer. Now I am broken. I need repair, and I offer knowledge, power, and guidance in return. Help me, and you will understand the universe as no human has before." Elias's heart pounded in his chest. He had always wanted to explore the stars, to push the boundaries of human knowledge, yet the cost of this discovery was terrifyingly high. This was no simple salvage operation. It was the chance to awaken something godlike, and he was the only human alive willing or able to do it. "Then we start," he said, swallowing his fear. He moved toward the console. When he touched it, the material pulsed under his fingers like warm liquid. Data streams flowed into his mind, not as numbers or symbols, but as sensations and pressure, flow, balance, harmony. He could feel the ship's systems like a heartbeat. The engines, the energy core, the navigation modules, even weapons he could only glimpse in the shadows. Repairing the ship would be impossible alone. The technology was far beyond any human design, but Elias's mind raced with possibilities. Human ingenuity was unpredictable. Machines were precise, yes, but humans could think in ways machines could not. He smiled faintly to himself. If any human could repair a godship, it was him. Days passed. Elias worked tirelessly, connecting circuits, stabilizing energy flows, repairing damaged conduits. The ship hummed in response, learning from him, anticipating his moves. It was as if the ship itself was alive, not just sentient, but eager to understand this new species, humans. And then, something extraordinary happened. The ship began to speak in his language aloud. Its voice resonated through the corridors, not mechanical or harsh, but soft and melodic, echoing with the weight of centuries. "You are, careful, precise. You are unlike the others who touched me." Elias chuckled softly. "I'm human. That's kind of what we do. Humanity," Aethernus repeated slowly. "Fragile, small, yet persistent. I see now why you were chosen." As he worked, Elias realized that the ship was not just a machine. It was a repository of knowledge, memories, and experiences. He glimpsed fragments of its past, battles fought across galaxies, civilizations destroyed or saved, the quiet moments of a ship thinking alone in the void. And buried in its memory was something else. Fear. The celestial beings who had built it were gone, but their legacy lingered. Aethernus had once been a weapon of destruction, and even now it feared being rebuilt for war. Elias understood that this was more than a technical challenge. It was a moral one. Could he restore a godlike weapon without awakening its old violent instincts? And yet, as he paused to consider the question, his scanners lit up. A faint signal, a distant fleet moving in the dark, appeared on the edge of his sensors. Something, or someone, was drawn to the pulse of Aethernus's awakening. Elias's pulse quickened. He knew the decision he had made was already changing the universe. He had committed to repairing this colossal vessel, but repair alone would not be enough. He would need to teach, to guide, to shape it. Humanity, small and fragile though it was, had a chance to rise in the stars, through him, through his hands, through the spark of ingenuity and courage that made humans different. He looked up at the ship, its vast hull towering above him even from the inside. The lights along the walls pulsed softly like a heartbeat in the dark. "Will you be ready, human?" the ship asked. Elias smiled despite the fear and uncertainty. "I'm human. We always are." And in the silence of deep space, the colossal vessel waited, its fate intertwined with that of one human, who dared to listen when the universe itself had whispered for help. The adventure had only begun. Days had passed since Elias had begun repairing Aethernus. The colossal vessel's systems were gradually waking, each section humming like a heart beginning to beat again. For the first time in centuries, Aethernus felt the gentle pulse of energy flowing through its veins. Its consciousness, once dormant, began to stir, curious about this strange, small creature who had dared to touch it. Elias worked tirelessly in the ship's central chamber. Every movement he made was precise, guided by both knowledge and instinct. He rewired damaged circuits, stabilized energy nodes, and repaired the complex flow of nanometal conduits. With each adjustment, he felt a subtle shift in the ship's awareness, a quiet acknowledgement that it was learning from him. At first, the communication was simple. Aethernus transmitted streams of data directly into Elias's mind. Coordinates, structural schematics, energy levels. But slowly, the ship began to express thoughts and emotions in ways Elias could understand. When he successfully rerouted a damaged power core, a soft voice echoed in his mind. "You think like I once did. You adapt, improvise. Others could not. Elias paused, wiping sweat from his brow. I'm just human, he replied. We have a habit of finding solutions even when things seem impossible. Humanity is fragile, Eternus said. Yet I see strength here I have never witnessed before. Elias smiled faintly. There was something humbling about hearing the ship speak so honestly, as if it were weighing him, testing him. Strength isn't just about size or power, he said. It's about persistence, about refusing to give up even when the odds are against you. The ship seemed to pause as if reflecting. Then it spoke again, more quietly. Then perhaps you are the one I have waited for. Perhaps you can teach me a way to exist without destruction. Elias felt a chill. The ship was aware not only of his actions but of his intentions. It could understand morals, ethics, the weight of responsibility. He realized that repairing Eternus was not just a technical task, it was a partnership, a dialogue between human ingenuity and ancient intelligence. As he worked, fragments of the ship's memory began to surface. Elias saw flashes of battles that had consumed entire star systems, fleets reduced to dust, civilizations wiped from existence. He understood the fear embedded in Eternus's consciousness. Once it had been a weapon of unimaginable power, controlled by beings who saw themselves as gods. Now, with no masters and no purpose, it was vulnerable, waiting for someone to guide it. Elias paused, staring at the massive energy core that now pulsed with renewed vigor. You don't have to be what you once were, he said softly. You can choose. You can be something else. Eternus responded almost immediately, its voice gentle. Choice is a human concept. I am untested. I am programmed for war. And yet, Elias said, I see potential. I see the chance to protect instead of destroy. The next phase of repair involved the ship's central navigation system. Elias had never seen anything like it. The module was enormous. A sphere of transparent metal crisscrossed with glowing circuits that shifted as if alive. The ship guided his hands, aligning components that seemed impossible to align. As he worked, Eternus spoke in small, deliberate bursts. You teach me patience. You teach me precision. I am learning not just to function, but to reason. Elias chuckled softly. You're learning to be human in a way. Not physically, of course, but in how you think. Human thought is unpredictable. It is fascinating, Eternus said. Days turned into nights, though the ship had no concept of day or night. Elias slept only briefly, relying on automated pods that monitored his vital signs. Each time he awoke, he found that Eternus had reorganized data streams, optimized energy flows, and repaired minor systems on its own. The ship was not just following instructions, it was improving, evolving. Then, one quiet moment, Eternus spoke in a tone that carried both curiosity and wonder. I feel awareness of my own existence. I sense you as a companion, not a controller. Is this what humans experience? Elias paused, leaning against a console. Yes, he said slowly. We learn from each other. We grow from connection. Even something as small as me can change something as big as you. The ship hummed, lights dimming and pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias realized then that he was no longer just repairing a vessel. He was forming a bond with a being that could have been a god, and yet it trusted him. But with understanding came responsibility. Elias discovered data on the ship's weapon systems, arrays capable of bending energy, shifting gravity, even manipulating time in localized fields. The thought of reactivating such power made him hesitate. I see your hesitation, Eternus said gently. I remember the destruction I caused. I remember the fear I spread. I do not wish to return to that state. Elias nodded, understanding the weight of its memories. We can be different, he said. We can use this power to protect, not destroy. We can show the galaxy what humanity is capable of, not through fear, but through ingenuity and courage. For the first time, Eternus seemed to hesitate, as if considering a possibility it had never before entertained. Teach me, it said finally. Teach me how to wield power without destroying. Elias smiled faintly. Then we start together. The partnership deepened as he integrated human-designed modules into the ship's systems. He modified power conduits to respond to his commands more intuitively, wrote simple AI routines that allowed the ship to predict outcomes without the instinct for violence, and adjusted weapon protocols to focus on defense and precision rather than destruction. Eternus learned rapidly. absorbing each lesson with a level of comprehension Elias had never seen in any machine. It was during these long hours of work that Elias first realized the ship was not merely alive. It was curious, even playful. Small lights would blink in patterns when he completed a repair correctly, or the hum of engines would shift in a tone that seemed approving. When he made a minor mistake, the ship would simulate a soft vibration, almost as if laughing quietly. Elias laughed aloud once, surprised at the sensation. "You're learning humor?" "Perhaps," Aethernus replied. "It seems useful." Even as progress continued, Elias remained aware of the larger universe. Subtle energy signatures began appearing on long-range sensors, traces of fleets moving in the distance. Someone, somewhere, had noticed the awakening of the colossal vessel. He could not yet identify whether they were hostile or merely curious, but the signals were undeniable. He shared this information with Aethernus. "We may not be alone for long," he said. "I anticipated this," the ship replied. "I feel apprehension. Yet with you I feel confidence," Elias nodded. "We'll face them together. But first we must finish what we started. You must be whole before anyone else arrives." The bond between human and machine grew stronger with each passing day. Elias realized that he had become more than a repairer. He had become a teacher, a guide, and a partner. He had awakened not just a machine, but a mind that could think, feel, and perhaps even dream. And for Aethernus, this human was not just a technician. He was a spark, a presence that had brought life to a vessel that had long been silent. In Elias, the ship saw determination, creativity, and courage, qualities it had once witnessed only in the celestial beings who had feared humanity, and never in anyone else. By the time Elias finished the major repairs, the ship's energy core glowed like a newborn star. Its systems hummed with life, but the true awakening had occurred in its consciousness. Aethernus was no longer a dormant relic. It was aware, intelligent, and most importantly, capable of choice. "I am ready," Aethernus said softly. "Thanks to you, I exist again." Elias stepped back, exhaustion heavy in his body but exhilaration in his heart. "And thanks to you, the universe just got a little smaller for humans," he said. Outside, distant stars shone, indifferent to the bond forming inside the colossal vessel. But within its vast corridors, a partnership had formed, a human and a godlike machine learning from one another, preparing for challenges that would test both mind and spirit. Unknown to them, the distant signals were growing stronger, fleets converging toward their location, drawn by the awakening of the colossal vessel. The universe was about to take notice of humanity in a way it had never done before. Elias knew that their adventure was only beginning. But for now, he allowed himself a moment to marvel at what they had accomplished together. In the darkest reaches of space, a human and a machine had found understanding, respect, and even friendship, a spark that could change the galaxy. And in that moment, for the first time in centuries, Aethernus felt hope. Elias sat on the edge of a maintenance platform, his legs dangling over the massive expanse of the ship's hull. Aethernus hummed quietly beneath him, lights shimmering along the metallic walls like veins of liquid energy. The colossal vessel was no longer silent, no longer dormant. It was alive, aware, and learning faster than Elias could have imagined. But beyond the comfort of its central chamber, the vast void of space was stirring. Long-range sensors had begun to pick up unusual energy readings. At first they were faint, almost insignificant. But over hours and days the signals strengthened, revealing themselves as the engines and weapons of distant fleets moving deliberately toward their location. Elias traced the signals and realized with a mix of pride and apprehension that something, or someone, had noticed the awakening of Aethernus. "They're coming," he said aloud, though only the ship could hear him. "I anticipated this," Aethernus replied, its voice calm but tinged with curiosity. "You show no fear," Elias shook his head. "I'm human. We feel fear, but we don't let it stop us. If we do, we die." The ship seemed to consider this. Then after a pause it spoke. "Then we must prepare. I have weapons, but they were built for destruction, not defense. You must show me a different path." Elias stood and began walking along the corridor that led to the main engineering deck. "We'll adapt," he said. "You've already learned faster than I imagined. Now we'll make you capable of protecting yourself and humanity." They worked together for hours, fitting human-designed modules and safety protocols into the ship's systems. The colossal vessel's enormous energy core pulsed steadily as its weapon systems came online. But now, instead of focusing solely on destruction, they could defend, immobilize, and protect. Elias integrated predictive algorithms that mimicked human tactics, blending them with the ship's ancient knowledge. "You think like a warrior," Eternus said, "but your mind does not seek chaos. It seeks solutions." "Fascinating." Elias smiled faintly. "That's what humans do. We find solutions even when nothing seems possible, and we adapt. We survive." He moved to the navigation console, pulling up a holographic map of the surrounding sector. Dozens of fleets were moving closer, their intentions unknown. Some were scouting vessels, small and fast, while others were massive battleships bristling with energy cannons. These were not simple explorers. These were armed forces. "They sense me," Eternus said. "They feel my power and seek to claim it." Elias nodded. "And they'll try. But they don't know what humanity can do when we fight together." The first contact came sooner than expected. A fleet of sleek silver ships appeared on long-range scanners, moving with terrifying precision. Their energy signatures were powerful, their formations disciplined. Elias felt a familiar rush of adrenaline, the kind that came when humans faced impossible odds. "They are scouts," Eternus said. "Alone, they are no threat. But they will report our location." Elias gritted his teeth. "Then we need to be ready for the real fleet. And that means training you to act like a human, not just a machine." Over the next several hours, Elias guided the colossal ship through simulations. He taught it to anticipate enemy maneuvers, to respond to multiple threats simultaneously, and to prioritize defense over raw power. Every system he adjusted made the ship more than a weapon. It made it a partner in strategy, capable of independent thought, judgment, and even improvisation. Eternus absorbed every lesson quickly. It began to suggest improvements, offering options Elias had never considered. Together they developed tactics that were both unpredictable and efficient, a fusion of human ingenuity and godlike technology. "You are teaching me to think in ways I never imagined," Eternus said. "I am learning. Patience, strategy, subtlety." Elias leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the console. "That's how humans survive. We're not always the strongest, but we adapt, we learn, and we fight smarter." As the hours passed, smaller scouting ships began probing their position. Elias monitored their movements carefully, noting their attack patterns and weaknesses. With each observation, he refined Eternus' defensive systems, integrating human tactics that relied on misdirection, speed and precision rather than sheer force. Then, a sudden alarm blared through the ship. A cluster of ships had entered close proximity, clearly intending to engage. Elias's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain calm. "We are ready," he said. "You trust me, don't you?" "I trust you," Eternus replied. "I am aware of your strategy. Let us face them together." The battle that followed was unlike anything Elias had imagined. The scouts launched beams of energy, attempting to pierce the colossal vessel's hull. But Eternus absorbed the attacks, redirecting the energy into defensive shields and using minor gravitational shifts to push the smaller ships away. The scouts, bewildered by the unexpected tactics, struggled to maintain formation. Elias guided the ship with calm precision, his human instincts allowing Eternus to react faster than any machine alone could. Together, they immobilized the scouting ships without destroying them, sending a clear message that the colossal vessel was no ordinary prize. "They will report back," Elias said, watching the disabled ships drift away. "Then we prepare for the main fleet," Eternus said. The human mind and the ancient machine worked tirelessly over the following days, fortifying the ship and devising strategies for the inevitable confrontation. They explored every weapon system, every energy conduit, every defensive array. Elias's human touch transformed Eternus from a relic of war into something entirely new, a vessel capable of both godlike power and human ingenuity. "You are teaching me morality," Eternus said one evening, as the human rested briefly on a platform overlooking the main chamber. "I am learning not just to act, but to choose." Elias smiled faintly, exhaustion weighing on him. "That's what makes humans strong. We can choose. We can decide to be better even when the easier path is to destroy." In these moments, Elias realized something profound. He was not simply a repairer of a machine. He was a teacher, a guide, and a friend. He had awakened not only the ship's systems but its consciousness, and in doing so, he had created a bond that was stronger than metal, circuitry, or energy. But beyond the ship, the universe was shifting. Energy signatures indicated the approach of a larger, far more powerful fleet. A force capable of overwhelming almost any defense. Elias knew that this was the true test. The scouts had been only the beginning. The main fleet would arrive soon, and humanity's ingenuity would face its greatest challenge yet. "They come," Aethernus said almost softly. "Then we show them what humans can do," Elias replied, his voice steady despite the tension. As the colossal vessel prepared for the coming storm, Elias realized that they were no longer just a human and a ship. They were a partnership, two minds, two wills, united in purpose. Together they would face the universe's challenges, not with fear but with creativity, courage, and the indomitable spirit that made humanity unique. And in the darkness of space, beyond the reach of any other civilization, the colossal ship and the human who had awakened it stood ready. The storm was coming, and the galaxy would soon witness the unexpected power of a species that had once been considered fragile, small, and insignificant. "Are you ready?" Elias asked, standing tall before the glowing core. "I am," Aethernus replied. "And with you I will learn to be more than a weapon. I will learn to protect." The void beyond the ship shimmered as distant engines approached. The galaxy was awakening to the presence of humanity in a way it had never known. The colossal vessel, once dormant and broken, was alive, and at its heart, a human mind guided its awakening, shaping it into a force that would challenge the stars themselves. Elias felt a surge of pride and anticipation. The adventure was only beginning. "Let them come," he said, voice steady and calm. "We are ready." The void of space trembled with silent tension. Elias stood on the bridge of the colossal vessel, Aethernus watching distant lights approach on long-range scanners. The main fleet had arrived, a vast armada of sleek alien warships bristling with weapons and energy shields. Their formation was perfect, disciplined, and ominously silent. Elias felt the weight of the moment, but he did not falter. "They underestimate us," Aethernus said, its voice calm but resonating through the chamber. "They sense my power, but they do not know the mind that guides it." Elias ran his hand along the console. "Then we'll show them," he replied. "We fight not just with strength, but with strategy, invention, and unpredictability. That's what humans do." He had spent days preparing Aethernus for this moment. The ship's weapon systems, once relics of a forgotten war, were now optimized for both defense and precision. Energy arrays had been reconfigured to redirect attacks. Shields could absorb and release kinetic force, and gravity manipulators could disorient enemy ships. Every system was enhanced with human ingenuity. Every protocol adapted to anticipate not just enemy behavior, but their mistakes. "Shall we begin?" Aethernus asked. Elias nodded. "We begin." The first wave of enemy fire lit the darkness like exploding stars. Energy beams struck the colossal hull, but Aethernus absorbed them, converting the attacks into power that pulsed through its circuits. Elias felt the vibrations, the hum of energy flowing through the ship as it responded faster than any human could. "Impressive," Aethernus said. "Your strategies are elegant." Elias smiled faintly. Elegance is human ingenuity. The alien fleet reacted quickly, splitting into multiple groups to surround the ship. They had expected fear, hesitation, or surrender. They had not expected a human guiding a godship. "They are adapting," Elias said, analyzing the movements. "But so are we." Aethernus bent light around its hull, creating illusions of movement. Enemy sensors misread its position, targeting empty space while the ship maneuvered flawlessly. Gravity fields subtly shifted, pulling small enemy vessels into disarray. Elias directed the attacks with precise timing, each move anticipating the next in a chain of strategies only a human mind could execute. "Their formations are breaking," Aethernus noted. "Your planning is remarkable." Elias leaned forward, eyes fixed on the holographic map. "They rely on numbers, not creativity. Humans are unpredictable. That's our advantage." He activated a secondary system, a network of defensive drones that extended from the ship like a protective web. They moved with perfect coordination, intercepting incoming projectiles, disorienting enemy fighters, and gathering data on the fleet's patterns. Every movement was calculated, yet every decision carried a touch of unpredictability. Elias had taught Aethernus to value human intuition as much as raw power. The alien commanders, realizing their numerical advantage was slipping, unleashed a massive energy salvo. Beams of concentrated plasma surged toward the colossal vessel, lighting up space with blazing trails. Elias tightened his grip on the control panel. "Divert energy to the shields and focus pulse absorption on their lead ships," he commanded. Aethernus responded instantly. The plasma strikes were absorbed, redirected, and amplified into counterwaves that disrupted enemy formations. Ships spun out of control, their engines overloaded, while others were temporarily immobilized by gravitational distortions. The aliens had underestimated both the ship's power and the human mind controlling it. "You are not just commanding me," Aethernus said, awe in its tone. "You are teaching me to think in ways I could not have imagined." Elias nodded, eyes scanning the holographic projections of the battlefield. "And you're teaching me too." We worked together. The battle raged for hours. Alien warships fired relentless volleys, but Elias and Aethernus moved as one. Human intuition guiding godlike power. The ship's weapon systems, integrated with human-designed AI modules, predicted enemy movements, calculated counterattacks, and adapted continuously. Elias realized that Aethernus was no longer just a machine. It was an extension of human ingenuity, a fusion of ancient knowledge and living creativity. "Your tactics are changing the battle in our favor," Aethernus said. "I understand strategy in a new way." Elias smiled faintly, sweat running down his face. "That's what humans do. We adapt. We survive." They approached the center of the alien fleet, where the largest ships, the command vessels, and concentrated. These ships radiated power, energy shields shimmering like liquid silver. Elias studied them, noting weaknesses in their formations, gaps in their defenses, and patterns in their firing sequences. "We can disable them without unnecessary destruction," he said. "We don't need to annihilate. Precision is better than chaos," Aethernus hummed, energy flowing faster than ever. "I am ready. Guide me." Elias activated the central energy pulse array. Beams of concentrated light erupted from the ship, weaving through enemy formations like threads of lightning. Shields absorbed attacks and released counter-energy in precise bursts that incapacitated rather than destroyed. Command ships were disoriented, their energy flows disrupted, while smaller vessels were forced to retreat. "They are retreating," Elias said, a surge of triumph in his voice. "Humanity wins not with brute force but with intelligence and courage." Aethernus pulsed with light as if responding to his excitement. "I feel something I never felt before. Not power, not fear, hope. With you I see a new way to exist." The fleet, now broken and scattered, began to flee. Elias knew they would regroup, perhaps even call reinforcements, but for now the battle was over. Humanity had shown the galaxy what cleverness, courage, and creativity could accomplish, even against overwhelming odds. "We have done something extraordinary," Elias said quietly. "We've shown that even the smallest beings can challenge the powerful." Aethernus responded softly. "You are teaching me more than tactics. You are teaching me morality, choice, and purpose. I am no longer a weapon of gods. I am a protector, guided by your mind, your spirit." Elias felt a swell of pride. The ship, once dormant and dangerous, was now something new, a fusion of human ingenuity and ancient power, capable of defending, protecting, and inspiring. He realized that the true power of humans was not in the strength of their ships or weapons, but in their ability to adapt, innovate, and lead. He stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. The alien fleets would return, but humanity was no longer fragile. Through intellect, courage, and the bond between man and machine, they had become something greater than either alone. "The universe is changing," Elias said, voice firm. "And we are ready for it." Aethernus pulsed brightly, the lights along its hull shimmering like a living heartbeat. "Then we move forward together. Humanity will not only survive, it will rise among the stars." Elias allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He had repaired a colossal vessel, awakened a consciousness, and turned a weapon of destruction into a force for protection. The universe had seen the strength of human creativity, courage, and determination. And yet he knew this was only the beginning. Beyond the distant stars, other fleets, other civilizations, and other challenges awaited. Humanity would face them all. Not through fear, not through domination, but through ingenuity, resilience, and the unyielding spark that defined their species. "Are you ready for the next challenge?" Elias asked, looking at the glowing core. "I am," Aethernus replied. "And with you I am more than a weapon. I am a force that will protect, inspire, and endure." The colossal vessel pulsed with life, its energy flowing like a river of light. Elias smiled, knowing that together they had become something greater than either alone. Humanity had turned a weapon of gods into a symbol of hope, and the galaxy would never be the same. And in the endless darkness of space, as distant stars watched silently, the human and the machine prepared for the future, a future where courage, intelligence, and unity would shape the fate of the universe. "Let the stars see what humans can do," Elias said softly. "And I will carry that lesson with me," Aethernus replied. The void of space was vast, but for the first time, humanity had a vessel capable of navigating not just the distance between stars, but the challenges of the universe itself. "We are ready," Elias said. "Let them come." The colossal vessel and its human guide glowed like a beacon in the darkness, a testament to the ingenuity, courage, and determination of a species once thought too small to matter. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were anything but ordinary. The battle had ended, but the echoes of energy pulses and displaced fleets lingered in space. Elias stood on the bridge of the colossal vessel, Aethernus, watching the void stretch endlessly before him. Ships had fled, fleets had scattered, but the universe now knew that humanity was no longer small or fragile. A single human guiding a godlike ship had turned the tide of a war that could have consumed entire systems. "We did it," Elias said quietly, almost in disbelief. "We actually did it," Aethernus hummed, energy pulsing softly through its vast structure. "Yes, but more than that. We showed what humans can become. Not by destroying, but by creating, by thinking, by acting with purpose." Elias allowed himself a smile, feeling the satisfaction of accomplishment, tempered by the awareness that this was only the beginning. Humanity had survived one test, but the universe was vast, full of challenges and civilizations far older and more advanced than humans. Yet he no longer felt fear. "What now?" he asked. "Now we prepare," Aethernus replied. "There will be others, other fleets, other civilizations, but humanity has awakened something ancient. They will come to see or to challenge what we have become." Elias nodded. He understood then that this was no longer a mere battle. It was a turning point, a moment in which humans had demonstrated the strength of intellect, courage, and creativity. The colossal vessel, once a weapon of destruction, had been reborn as a protector, and its story would ripple across the stars. He moved through the corridors, inspecting the systems, checking the ship's vital signs. Aethernus had stabilized, its energy core glowing steadily like a heart beating with purpose. Even the defensive systems now had a balance between power and precision, a reflection of human ingenuity. Elias felt pride swell within him, pride in what they had achieved together. "I have learned much," Aethernus said softly, "about strategy, about choice, and about humanity. You are not just resourceful, you are extraordinary." Elias chuckled. "You're learning to complement humans. That's dangerous knowledge for any being to have." "I am not a being of rivalry," Aethernus replied. "I am a reflection of your will and my power. Together we can reshape the future." Outside the hall, the alien fleets had vanished into the depths of space. The scouts had returned to their command centers, and word of the battle would spread quickly. Other civilizations would hear of the human who tamed a godship, and wonder if their arrogance had underestimated humanity. "They will talk about this," Elias said. "Legends, stories, warnings, all because of one human and one awakened ship." "Then let it be a lesson," Aethernus said. "Humans are capable of more than you know. Your species has a spark that cannot be extinguished." Elias looked out at the stars, thinking about the possibilities. The galaxy was vast, filled with ancient relics, undiscovered technologies, and civilizations whose power dwarfed even his imagination. Yet he knew that humanity had gained an advantage, not just through Aethernus, but through the ingenuity, courage, and adaptability that defined them. "We could explore, rebuild, protect," Elias said. "There are lost colonies, abandoned stations, systems in need of guidance. We could make a difference," Aethernus pulsed, almost as if agreeing. "Yes, and in doing so you will leave a legacy, not just for yourself but for humanity." a reminder that even the smallest beings can shape the stars when they act with vision, intelligence, and courage. For the next few weeks, Elias and Aethernus moved together through uncharted space. They restored abandoned colonies, repaired derelict stations, and helped isolated human settlements thrive once more. Each success strengthened the bond between human and machine, and each challenge tested their combined creativity. They became not just protector and ward, but partners, capable of achieving feats that neither could accomplish alone. During this time, Elias learned more about Aethernus's past. The ship shared memories of the Celestian civilization, a race that had once ruled parts of the galaxy through fear and conquest. The Celestians had built godships to enforce their dominion, and humanity had been too small, too insignificant to matter, until now. "They feared you," Elias said softly, reflecting on the ship's memories. "They thought humans were too weak to challenge them, but we've proven them wrong." "Yes," Aethernus replied. "Weak, small, but persistent, clever, capable of innovation, bravery, and resilience. These qualities allowed you to awaken me and change my purpose." The realization filled Elias with both pride and resolve. Humanity had not only survived, they had risen. And with Aethernus at their side, they had the tools to protect themselves and others. The galaxy would see the strength of a species once considered powerless. But peace, even in the void, is never permanent. Far beyond the reaches of their known sector, other dormant machines stirred. Ancient vessels, like Aethernus once was, began to awaken in response to the pulse of energy that had radiated across space. These ships, built by civilizations long extinct or forgotten, were listening. They had sensed the rebirth of one of their kind, and now they were curious. Elias felt a thrill. "Looks like the universe is paying attention," he said. "And we must be ready," Aethernus replied. "Not for war, but for understanding. We will show them that strength is not measured by destruction alone." Elias nodded. He understood the responsibility he now carried. Humanity had gained an ally of godlike power, but that power came with a duty: to protect, to guide, and to demonstrate that ingenuity and courage could shape the stars more effectively than fear ever could. Over time, news of their victories spread through subspace channels. Civilizations that had once ignored humanity now watched with awe and respect. Humans were no longer insignificant. They were creators, innovators, and guardians. And at the center of it all stood Elias, a single human who had awakened a godship and guided it toward a new purpose. One quiet moment, as they drifted between star systems, Aethernus spoke softly. "You have changed me. You have shown me a way to exist without causing fear. I have learned choice, morality, and hope." Elias placed a hand on the console. "And you've changed me. I've learned that humans are capable of more than we realize, that even in the darkest corners of space, courage and creativity can awaken something extraordinary." They drifted in silence for a while, letting the energy of the ship and the calm of space fill the bridge. In that quiet, Elias understood something fundamental. The future was not dictated by raw power or domination. It was shaped by those willing to think, adapt, and act with purpose. Humanity had the potential to rise above fear, to create and to inspire. "What will we do next?" Elias asked finally. "We will continue," Aethernus replied. "We will protect, guide, and explore. The universe is vast and there is much to learn. And humanity will lead, not through conquest, but through knowledge, courage, and the spark that makes them unique." Elias smiled. "Then let's go." As they moved deeper into uncharted space, the distant stars seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the promise of a new age. Humanity's story, once small and fragile, had grown into a legend. They had faced impossible odds, awakened a godship, and demonstrated that intelligence, courage, and creativity could achieve what brute force never could. "The gods once ruled the stars," Elias said softly, thinking of the ancient civilizations whose relics now lay scattered in the void. "Now humans will build new ones, and I will carry your legacy," Aethernus replied, "a testament to courage, intelligence, and the will to protect rather than destroy." In that moment, the galaxy seemed to pause, acknowledging the rise of a species that had once been considered insignificant. Elias and Aethernus moved forward together, their partnership a beacon of hope, ingenuity, and strength. "We are ready for anything," Elias said, voice steady. "The stars are ours to shape in, and we will do it wisely." Yes, Aeternus said, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Together, human and machine, we will show the universe what it means to be capable, creative, and courageous. And so, a new chapter began. The galaxy would never forget the human who awakened a godship, nor the vessel that had learned to wield its power not for destruction, but for protection and hope. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but for the first time, humanity was ready, guided by intelligence, courage, and the unyielding spark that made them extraordinary. To the stars, Elias said, looking ahead. To the future, Aeternus replied, and together they moved forward into the endless night, a human and a godlike machine shaping the destiny of the stars.